The All-Ireland football semi-finals this weekend, Dublin against Mayo, then Kerry against Tyrone. Which of the two games are you more excited about?
Ah, sure, it's a no-brainer. Saturday night. Can't wait for Saturday night, to be honest with you. After last Saturday night, just I suppose everything that Mayo bring to the table was there to be seen. Even the erratic shooting and the 35% conversion rate and everything was there. But the Dublin-Mayo rivalry, the last since 2012 really, and even going back to the mill at the Hill in 2006, they've delivered some of the best games we've seen, like the 16 replay All-Ireland final and the 17 All-Ireland final. That's one of the best games I've ever seen. I do expect something similar at the weekend. I think it could be an absolute cracker, and I think people write off Mayo at their peril.
But they are a flawed team, like you know that.
Oh yeah.
In general, in the last few years, that can go wrong that sees them lose by a point. It does, whether it's the own goals, whether it's black cards for goalies and penalties. It just seems to happen.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the drama and everything that they bring to the table. Like, it's been a mad season for Mayo, beaten by Roscommon up in Castlebar, hammered by Kerry down in Killarney, and now they're in the All-Ireland semi-final, exactly where they wanted to be at the start of the year. The turnaround is worrying though. Like, they're turning around 7 days, and people can say, I know what you're going to say, but last weekend was a war. Like, in every game Mayo play is a war. It's different type of tax on the body compared to the way Dublin play. Do you know what I mean?
It's controlled, and you're probably not putting yourself through the same physical
exactly.
mill.
Whereas they go to the wall every time. They hit the wall in all those big games, and it'd just be interesting to see whether they're able to go to the well again. I think they will be able to, because I think having the week off the week before is crucial. The matchups are going to be so interesting. Paddy Durcan will probably push up and pick up Jack McCaffrey to try and stop him. It just shows how the game has changed.
Well, he did so well on Ryan McHugh.
Yeah.
It's hard not to think that's the most obvious one. But can Paddy Durcan was able to get his few scores as well. Will he do that against Jack McCaffrey and be able to stop him? Because it's not like Jack McCaffrey is making 20 runs straight down. It's the one or two where it completely puts the other team on the back foot that make all the difference. Like, that's a tough job for Paddy Durcan.
There's a 60, 70 yard run, isn't it? Like, and it's just...
The opposition team is they're all full steam to get back, and they're not going to either.
And he just creates all those overlaps. Like the day against Cork, which was just phenomenal. Like, he created when no one else was creating, he was creating. But if Paddy Durcan doesn't need to get in the scoreboard next day, if he's able to nullify him somewhat, that's a job done in itself. It'd be a bonus if he's able to get a point or two. Then you have the other matchups like
Lee Keegan against Kilkenny again.
Yeah, Kilkenny kind of hasn't been as influential this year, but is that because of like they haven't played a game of really, really high intensity probably yet, apart from the Cork early stages of the Cork game?
How do you analyse any of Dublin's games this year in the sense of saying who's good and who's bad? Because they're just walking all over everybody. Yeah. They possibly don't know themselves who's on top form and who's not.
That's dangerous in a negative way too. They haven't been hit. I would say they haven't been hit with. Hopefully, I think what they're going to be hit with on Saturday night, they haven't been hit with that since they played Mayo in 2017 final. And that will be just interesting. I'd love to see a scenario after the first 20 minutes where it's like the Limerick Kilkenny game in the hurling, where it's like they're like frazzled and like they weren't expecting this, and Mayo are up 2-5 to 2 points or something like that. It'd be unbelievable. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. They probably won't be up by that much. But I just love to see Dublin put on the back foot and like serious questions been asked of them. Like things are going wrong, and see can they still yet again turn it around.
Like they did against Tyrone last year at the start of the All-Ireland. So they probably will. Do you think Mayo, because they lost the first, like last year wasn't a success going out in the Newbridge or nowhere to Kildare, losing against Roscommon at the start of the year, we saw how Roscommon got on in the Super 8s, not particularly amazing, even though they got a win against Cork the last day. But have Mayo come back to the position where you can say you're back in an All-Ireland final or semi-final, you did get hammered by Kerry, but you've come through some tough qualifiers, Armagh, Down and so on, and you've come through that group beating Donegal in a do-or-die game. Have they shown that they're still a challenger by virtue of getting this far, or do they need to at least push Dublin hard to be considered still in the top 3 or 4?
No, I think they're still showing they're a challenger. On their day, like if Mayo play like 7 or 8 of the big teams, they might only win 4. But on their day, they could still beat any of the big teams. Do you know what I mean? So like, there's a train of thought of me thinks that Mayo could win on Saturday night and still lose the All-Ireland final.
But is part of that because you're so sick of looking at Dublin win? No. Like most of the country is, even if you're not sick of the players and team and style per se, even though it can be a little bit kind of pedestrian in how they choke teams out, you do want the underdog to win, or at least an underdog to win.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point too. But I just think there's a couple of things with Dublin. As I said, I don't think they've been tested this year. They didn't get to a league final, which is different to other years. Even Dermot Connolly coming back and starting a game like 3 weeks after only coming back on the panel. There's just a couple of little things like that suggest to me maybe not that Dry's been taken off the ball, but just maybe that if a team really puts it up to them, they might ask some serious questions, and that's what I'm hoping to see Saturday night. I'm not saying Mayo will win the game, but I'd love to see Dublin ask serious questions, and I think they will be asked serious questions.
What did you make of the former stars of Dublin and their performances against Tyrone? I'll include in that Paddy Andrews, who played most of the game, Owen O'Gara was there, Dermot Connolly, of course, who you mentioned, and Bernard Brogan came on and he was running around like in a seriously determined fashion trying to make an impact.
Yeah, but the whole idea of Connolly starting, I know Connolly started midfield and Brogan's a forward, but Connolly starting, like Bernard Brogan's gone through hell last year and then he doesn't get a start. I thought that was a bit bizarre. Maybe just it's conversation that's been had. Maybe Brogan is not, like if Brogan didn't start the other day, maybe he's not in their plans at all.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not. The Connolly thing was strange. I kind of thought, I'm not saying that it's something they did on purpose, but it's almost like Tyrone didn't lay a glove on him. Just maybe they'll play again and Connolly will play and they'll be totally in his face, and it looks like he's back. Oh, he fitted in seamlessly, but that was a Nottingham game the other day. Like, that's meaningless. You could not judge anyone's form that game, apart from maybe Brogan, who after probably was stung for not starting, came on and made a big effort, looks leaner than ever, got a brilliant turnover I think he got turnover for either a point or a goal near the end as well. But like, I don't know whether he's going to play a part. Paddy Andrews, I don't know if he's going to. He's looking like he's 4th or 5th sub on at this stage.
And by virtue of not hand passing that ball across for Bernard Brogan to fist in, which would go against the sort of team ethic that Dublin seem to always espouse, I would say that would drop him down even further.
I think
just
so,
by virtue of that one moment.
Even Cormac Costello butchering that goal chance in the first half, where they were probably trying to work that and he took a shot. They were trying to work that hand pass kind of palmed effort and they never did and he took a shot. It's amazing, like one thing like that, it's the difference between a goal and not a goal in a massive game. That could drop him down the pecking order as well. From being a starter and the starting free taker, you'd imagine Rock starts and Costello is down the pecking order now.
By virtue of it being such a damp squib, would you not look at any player's performance really and if you're Jim Gavin and think, judging on how you played in that game, I might throw you in next week?
I don't know. I can't see it. I tell you what though, Rory O'Carroll was the one probably really disappointing one. He looked under pressure. Like he say mistimed a bouncing ball coming in. They could have got maybe two goals off him.
In any code, timing does go.
It does, yeah. So like whether he'll throw him into that kind of pressure cooker, he might have, but I don't think he will now. He has too many other options to throw in there. Like I don't know if Davy Byrne started the weekend. They've Owen Merchant, Johnny Cooper, McCarthy, Keane O'Sullivan, John Small, Philly McMahon, Jack McCaffrey. There's 8 or 9 backs. Like. So I'd say Rory O'Carroll is the 10th of those now.
Do you think with Owen Merchant actually, because he's an interesting case. He's been in the team a bit in the last year and a half or so. He seems to have dropped out. Do you think it's a case of the likes of Ian Burke showed that he can be exposed a little bit, and I think he's a very good player, really good player, and I've seen him do man marking jobs on a lot of guys, but because he's a fairly small guy, the teams know we've got a potential mismatch here at all times. If he man marks a guy who's kind of big, we'll put him on the inside, he won't want to be corner back, and we'll try and move him into a position where he's even full back. And then if you put in this high ball that everyone likes to talk about against Dublin, then all of a sudden you have him really at 6 and 7. So by virtue of his height, is he actually going to be under pressure to get game time from here on?
I think it's probably too simplistic to say that one game has written him off or anything.
But we just haven't seen much from him.
No, he's been injured a good bit now, to be fair as well. He's not long back. Like he's played very little this year by virtue of being injured. Johnny Cooper the same. But it is interesting though. Like I'm a big believer in that as well. That like when you have a designated man marker, say Keegan was a designated man marker on Michael Murphy, and they realised, okay, Lee Keegan doesn't want to play full back, so we'll launch a high ball in. Now I don't think that was a penalty. I think he bought a penalty, and it was one hand on each of them on the other man. But that's smart as well. You're putting him in a zone where he's not comfortable with. So if Merchant did play, you'd imagine that Mayo would, I'm not too sure who to get in, maybe a Darren Cohn or someone like that in on him, maybe something like that, something to put him out of his comfort zone. Even a smaller man, just say even. I don't know if it's likely, but if they were to pick up Andy Moore at some stage, and they would at least put him into that area there where they could take him out of a comfort zone, maybe very, very close to the goal.
And when you mention Andy Moore, the thing that stood out for me from his cameo against Donegal is that he's so desperate to make an impact and try and get back into the team that he actually ended up playing quite selfishly. There was one stage when he fisted over a point when he had, much like Paddy Andrews with Bernard Brogan, the little palm across, get a goal, And that tends to change the complexity of a game, getting that goal, because they're so hard to get.
Yeah, you're not a fan of the hand pass point, as I know.
I hate the hand pass point, and I hate the palm goal too, but if you're a manager, you just have to do it, because it's such a simple goal.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, yeah. He butchered a goal before that as well, so he was just mad to probably get on the score sheet. But he was such a live wire. He does just add something different. Very smart of Horn as well to see that it was the type of game that he could bring him on quickly. You know, managers would Cohen has been playing very well, but he saw that maybe it wasn't the sort of game that suited him, and they needed maybe an experienced head. So he wasn't afraid to pull him off there for 25 minutes and bring in Andy Moran, which is good to see. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Moran on Sunday now, on Saturday. Does he start? Because I think he needs to finish.
Yeah.
Whatever was starting, I think he needs to finish. Maybe they'll do a Peter Canavan on it. I haven't seen that in a long time. Maybe they'll start him for 20, bring him back on maybe about 45 and finish the game. Hope that he steadies things at the start.
Is he as important as he was though? Because with the likes of James Carr coming in there, with the likes of Darren Cohen, is he quite as important? And I know the Jason Doherty injury is there as well, so that kind of changes things a little bit. But is Andy Moore, is it as important to have him on the field all the time anymore?
I think it's still pretty important, Jed, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's anything but brilliant. He is brilliant.
Yeah.
But just the question still remains.
Yeah, no, I think he's not as important as he was then, because nearly the whole thing was gone around him in 2017. They have found James Carr, they found Darren Cohen, Cillian O'Connor's obviously back fit as well. A couple other things as well, like be interested to see Darren O'Connor wasn't listed last weekend. Does he play some part this weekend? Has Horn played the risky long game and said you maybe could have played last weekend but you wouldn't be right? We'll pray and hope that we get another game and give you another week. Matthew Rowan obviously played a bit last week. If they got 45-50 minutes out of him, they'd be absolutely delighted, and that would offer the possibility of maybe putting Aidan O'Shea full forward at some stage, or for a small spell.
But haven't we seen time and time again that doesn't work against Dublin, putting him full forward?
It mightn't work putting him in from the start and leaving him there for a prolonged period of time. It could work. It could work for 10 minutes before half time. It could work for just a once off or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it has to be an in-transition thing.
Yeah.
That if he realises, I'm on a guy who won't want to be in this position. The Dublin and Mayo games have reminded me in a hurling sense of the same really tense atmosphere that you get in Tip Kilkenny, when it's just bodies on the line, players killing each other. I don't think you see that in any other matchup in football, and certainly you might even say the same in hurling as well. There's just something ferocious about this sort of meeting.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because Kilkenny and Tip will go man on man. They have traditionally gone man on man. Mayo are the one team that will go man on man, and they won't care about playing a sweeper, they won't care about dropping someone back. Chris Barrett will probably pick up Dean Rock and he will stick to him like glue. Brendan Harrison will probably pick up Con maybe and stick to him like glue. Paddy Durkin on McCaffrey, and so on and so on. And Keegan on Kilkenny, and he'll just follow him around and stare him in the eyeballs for the full day. It's just, I don't know, they just seem to lend themselves to that sort of really intense, anything can happen kind of.
Yeah, you're not
war.
hiding behind systems here.
No, anything but. But the only thing is, if Mayo were somehow able to up the scoring averages to over 50%, they would give themselves a big chance. They butchered some amount of shots last weekend. You're just looking at it and you're thinking, oh my God, just rushing shots, maybe the wrong man shooting, not giving, as you said, maybe to Andy Moore, not giving the extra pass to deliver the certainty goal. If it were to happen where they'd forced 40 something shots the last day and converted the guts to 35%, if they were somehow able to get up to 60 or 65 and were able to hit 118, 119, then you have something really interesting. But that's going to require them to do something that they haven't done.
Yeah. And Dublin, of course, their scoring efficiency is also high. That's one of the biggest KPIs that you see from the Dublin team, to pick the right moments to shoot.
You're in business now, are you?
What's
KPIs.
Yeah. But I just don't see, I think in one-on-one scenarios, those Dublin forwards are going to test Mayo's backs a little bit more.
Oh, they will, 100%, yeah.
But I think to the point where Con will get away from the likes of Brendan Harrison if it's going to be him. The Cormac Costello will make a burst. That James McCarthy will get through the centre. Even Jack McCaffrey once or twice. So, and that's why you'd have to say Dublin again. And some people think that this could end up being a beatdown. That Mayo have gone through such a tough path in the last 8 or 9 weeks, whereas Dublin have just been, tipping along.
Mayo went through a worse path in 2017.
Yeah.
And still were within a point, and that was the one day where you really thought going down the stretch that they were in the position to win. Just on Con as well, people have been talking a lot about his physical transformation in the last 2 years. I think it's a bit like people had comparisons, some outlets had comparison pictures of him 2 years ago and now. And like obviously he's bigger now. He was only a kid back then. There's a natural growth. Obviously he had a certain level of strength and conditioning done now that he maybe hadn't done then. But he's turning into the player that everybody kind of thought he would. He was a marked man probably in 18, and he played for the team. Whereas now he's maybe able to express himself a bit more. He's still a team player, but he's able to contribute a bit more now. Like he's a phenomenal talent at that age. Just how mature he is and what he can deliver. Like the point he got the day against Roscommon, remember where he landed actually on one leg, and it looked like he nearly could do a cruciate or something on the way down. But he's just a phenomenal player, yeah. And his battle probably, I'd say, with Brendan Harrison is going to be one of the key kind of those sort of battles are going to decide who wins on Saturday night.
Well, what about how Dublin have changed in the past couple of years since they played Mayo last? So in the championship there was the 2017 All-Ireland final, the one where Jim McConnelly came on at half-time, the one with that was the one with the GPS, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like Dublin have changed so much from the frenetic counter-attacking team, get the ball and just all burst at once, to this patient team. Mayo haven't actually played against this configuration of Dublin, so that surely changes things a lot.
Yeah, it probably does. Yeah, we were chatting to Michael Murphy today, as you were yourself, and he didn't say cautious. I think the word he said, the Dublin word, he said they were careful. It's a different style. Yeah, there's no pot shots. It's all percentage play. It's all minimising the amount of mistakes you make. And that's probably changed a good bit even in the last 2 years. They were probably a bit more gung ho the last time Mayo played them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. Like Dublin's scoring efficiency compared to Mayo, like it's probably going to be double, and probably has been in a lot of the games. But it'll just be interesting if they just get a bit frazzled, if they're put under maybe pressure that they haven't been put under this year. You can talk about training games and in-house games and all this. Like an All-Ireland semi-final, you'd imagine it's going to be absolutely frenetic. And I just would love to see them taken out of their comfort zone. I think they will be. For how long, I don't know.
And like even you're 16 times more likely to get injured in a match than in training as well. I'd say that doubles even or more for Dublin against Mayo. Kerry against Tyrone. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like Tyrone have abandoned their style mid-season, which is abandoned their style based on one game. And funnily enough, like the team that knocked them out of Ulster are already gone out with the All-Ireland race. Like, so I don't know. The style they play will get them so far, and I think it could get them to an All-Ireland final, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think they could spook Kerry a small bit. Haven't been overly impressed with Kerry. Like even looking at the Tomas O'Shaven races on the Sunday game the other day, how their full back line was still exposed, how there was 50 yards still in front of a man, how you as a corner back could jockey a lad for 4 or 5 seconds and there was still nobody there with you, which is very, very strange, you know. So they're still, I don't know if Kerry has the hard edge yet that a Tyrone will bring to a game like Sunday.
Is part of that down to having a certain amount of really silky footballers, and you always need that silky footballer in there somewhere who of course has to have some sort of an edge, but then having too many of these young, interchangeable, fast guys who are not too long out of minors, and do they have that sort of...
Do they have an enforcer?
Yeah.
Well,
Tyke Morley would be, but like I think it's hard to be a full enforcer from so far back the field when your main task is to mind the house and stand goal side of your man.
No, very true. They have a lot of really good defenders and really good ball players and really good players at getting forward, but like did have a couple lads that are going to kill you like going through, and that's what it's going to take. Do Tyrone, definitely, and they're going to, like, you're going to really, really earn your score, whereas I don't know if you could say that at the other end. It's a really, really interesting one. You probably have, I'd say, not maybe the simplistic of saying brains against brawn, but there's going to be a lot of brains and a lot of silky football against really hard-nosed, hard footballers that are going to make life really, really difficult for them. It's probably something Tyrone, or probably something Kerry haven't played against. This team hasn't played against anyway. Yeah.
Do you think the likes of Ronan McNamee on Clifford, Gainey, what's more likely?
Ronan McNamee. Michael McKernan could drop back on Clifford yet. They have a couple of guys. Obviously, whoever marks them is going to have, say it's a luxury, but that they can go bald-headed for the ball, and Colin Kavanagh is going to be there, or someone's going to be there. The matchups are really interesting. Ronan McNamee's been super this year, absolutely brilliant. He's probably all-star fullback at the moment. Some of those, like Clifford could still, like, keeping Clifford to 3 points could be brilliant.
Stephen McManaman did very well on him in the game of Croke Park, and he marked him tight and really got to know him, but
Yeah.
kept him to 2 points from play.
Yeah, and
So-
that was it. He just he put him under that bit of pressure. Just that when Clifford had the ball, he realised that he didn't have maybe that extra second that he would normally have, and probably forced a few mistakes maybe that we haven't seen. I know he's carrying a bit of a back injury as well. He had a back spasm. Now they allayed fears, like I'd say his back will be fairly tested fairly quickly with a few dunts. Good to see Paul Geaney back in the form. That like say it's probably what 2014 form, is it?
Yeah.
No, 2015 and even 16. The year he got the All-Star full forward when he was outstanding in the semi-final against Dublin. He's back to that sort of form, so that offers another threat. Stephen O'Brien's probably been Kerry's best player all year. He's been outstanding and he's been really, really hard to stop. And he's been running from deep and kicking scores. But that whole area is going to be clogged up on Sunday.
David Moore, at least, like even if the short kickouts aren't working, Kerry in general have the skill to be able to give it to a corner back and work it out. But it's nice to know that you have Plan B. Just lump it on him, and maybe even Adrian Spillane to a lesser degree.
Yeah,
if you need to.
I was probably surprised. I don't know, like what you were thinking about the Donegal game. I didn't think they'd cope as well without him. I thought they'd really struggle without him. Tomas O'Shea
But
again.
Donegal were down 4 players. Well, Jason McGee went off early, so eventually they were down 4 lads.
Tomas O'Shea made a good point actually about, and I look back on it just to see it actually in action. When they realised Moran wasn't playing and that outball or that Plan A was gone, like Shane Ryan literally had the ball in his hands the second it was gone wide. It was like ball out to him straight away, cornerbacks out to the sideline, and there were options. They knew they had to play it a different way. It was only when Dublin pressed on them that he had to go along, and Donegal got a bit of joy. But again, the kickouts would be really, really interesting. Shane Ryan was ropey enough the other day against Meath, who wouldn't have been that well known for like a vigorous press or making a goalkeeper, really sweat. So it'd be interesting to see what Tyrone do there. Again, Tyrone, because they play defensively or sit lads back, invariably they don't press as high maybe then at times as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they do there. I'd say they will try and ruffle his feathers though.
Matty Donnelly was very impressive when he went full forward against Cork. And there's probably an element that they would have liked to have held that tactic for a while longer. It's not that we've never seen it before, but maybe they wanted to just keep it quiet for now and make teams think it was unlikely to happen. What are you going to do if you're Kerry and you see Matty Donnelly going in full forward?
Yeah, it changes things around a bit, doesn't it? Yeah,
and McShane, of course, will probably play in there beside him at spells.
You have two really good ball winners, two big dangers inside. You could see that at some stage on Sunday. It kind of looked like to me it was the sort of tactic that they were saving for Dublin. Like that was what it looked like to me anyway. By all accounts, the murmurings in the Healy Park press box the other day were that all that Mickey Hart was talking about for the last 2 weeks was Kerry. That's all he'd been talking about. Everything on the training ground had been based on Kerry. So, like, wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Donnelly going there. They'd probably think they're going to be able to make a bit of hay in there. That might, again, like we said about Aidan O'Shea, that might be a couple of balls, or it could be 10 minutes before half time, or it could be the last 20 minutes or something like that. But they'll try and make hay. You'll see a team playing one style to adopting a different style completely, and there'll be longer ball going in. But I've never seen anyone, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone like Matty Donnelly to break tackles and win frees. Like, he's just phenomenally strong, and he just seems to draw 2 or 3 lads to him, and even if he passes it off to someone else, he creates an opportunity for someone else. So it'll be interesting to see there. I don't imagine him starting right in there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he moved in there at some stage.
And I think by virtue of the fact that he can run through Kerry, Sludden can, Peter Hart, I know Tiernan McCann has been a sub the last. They do have more guys who can run straight up the centre. Yeah. I think ultimately Kerry generally don't get. Well, they're not going to get hammered.
Yeah.
But it might just be the thing that again, because they're vulnerable up the centre, it might just catch them out.
Yeah, I personally think that. I just think they mightn't have, at this stage of this team's kind of development, they mightn't just have the hard-nosed kind of attitude, particularly in defence, that Tyrone have. And I think you might just see a couple of big, I'm not saying it's going to be like the start of the 2003 All-Ireland semi-final, but you could just see a lot of really big hits, a lot of laying down markers. This team won't have seen anything like that before, this Kerry team, and I just think Tyrone will have a bit too much. And when push comes to shove, I think it'll be a repeat of last year's All-Ireland final, Dublin and Tyrone again.
Thanks very much, Michael.